to look at the costing from you folks, and rather than do mental health first aid, to look at emotional CPR. So I sent her a bit of information that you sent me, and sent her to the emotional CPR web page for her to have a bit of a squeeze. And but mate, we just all agree. We're all standing together here, nodding our heads and smiling, because I think that it's a model that would work really well in these small communities. So there's lots of fractures, within each of these small towns, lots of social fractures, and that's because when people are under pressure, they start to lose their peripheral vision, and they take really little things really personally, but they might overlook, and it becomes their world. So your world shrinks, doesn't it?
That's right. You can be in the surrounds of so many people, but yet feel like no one really gets it.
That's right. So there's a few things that are really strong out here that I've found, and one of those is the commonality that makes everybody actually live here. So what my role is to look at the resilience and the resourcefulness of community, and say, if we're going to empower that, then we should empower it this way. And common language, a common ideology, a really common theme that's really simple to understand. You talk about this coming through in layman's terms, because we're really talking about an emotive process that we all have the skills to engage in. We just need to feel the confidence to know that it doesn't matter if you don't have the answer, because you don't have to have the answer. Just that.
And in some cases, in these cases, there's no real answer.
No, that's exactly right.
Except when our higher power decides he's going to shower us with 50 mils of rain just out of nowhere.
Yeah, that's right, mate. That's exactly right. So what I really need now is for you folks to look at a costing, and get that back to me, because I've got to remit those funds, through Centacare by the end of June. So I've got to work with council, book a venue, set up all of the community. Council, I rang council yesterday. I rang the council representative in Aramac, and she said to me, "Oh, I can't believe that you're talking about this, Peter." She said 10 years ago on Landline, she said she watched a program where a community in Tasmania got together and talked about like a resilience-based training platform for the whole community. She said, "I've been thinking about that for 10 years." And she said, and blow me down, just out of the blue, you rang up and said, "Here's an opportunity. This is what I was thinking. This is who I've spoken to. This is how this could happen." These are all the other stakeholders that I've spoken to in the meantime who have said, we'll help to build things around it. So the event, at the end of the program, to bring those property owners into town and share a positive learning experience, and make that'll embed it into the psyche of the people that attend even more. Then she said, we can do it. We can just do it, Peter. We can do it. I said to her that I would send her the brief, and I haven't heard back from her yet today, but the mechanics of things don't travel all that quickly all the time. And, so maybe everybody's on board. I'm going to want to start building, but what I need to do to bring everybody together and start setting this up is to have the costing approved and have that worked out. So that's like the most important part of this now.
So the training needs to happen before the end of June?
It does, mate. It does. It can happen it can happen right at the end of June.
On the 30th of June, but it needs to happen.
Yeah, that's right. I can't forward pay it because our program finishes on the 30th of June. So we'll all be out of work bums after that date.
Okay. So, me and Shan are trying to get our heads together to see how we see it going. Now, there are obviously, Shan was telling me that you work with one other support worker there.
So there's actually 4 of us here. We've got an admin officer. I've got a colleague who works on properties, predominantly on properties. Does a lot of work in town, but works with individuals more than with community building and community sustainability. But I work off him. So Rex will say, this is an experience that a person is sharing, and there's a bit of a common theme here. So I'll look at that, and I'll look for that theme to be running upstream and downstream from property life. And so I'm looking for the commonalities, and while Rex is looking at supporting that person's immediate needs, what I'm trying to do is build a bit of something a little broader. And then I've got another co-worker whose role is to write submissions and grants to build that into a sustainable model for the future. So we run like neighbourhood events for property owners and have have property owners all turn up just for dinner because they've forgotten to do all of those things. They've forgotten the things that were great for their social contact and their connectivity, so they don't meet each other anymore.
So all of your team members all work from a community kind of perspective, and they're all kind of in tune with the community like you are.
Everybody, mate. Everybody. We're all on exactly the same page.
Because what you're trying to think about is, you're saying that, you think there might be around 50 people who you want to do this training for, yeah?
Look, that's something that I'm waiting for council to get back to me about, that's something that's a bit of an unknown quantity for me. But, so
you want it? Because what you're trying to see is, because the training is based on experiential learning, right? So there's a lot of work within smaller groups, and it is good to have people who can kind of take on like the lead role within those smaller groups, so that they can support that smaller group kind of have that experience within themselves right then in their sport. Feel that experience that they're learning something together.
Yes,
you know what I mean?
Yep.
So when you're thinking of doing emotion CPR on a large scale, say 50 people. Say for example that the council agrees, okay, 50 people. We would see them split up into smaller groups of say 8 people, okay, and we'd have say team leaders working in those teams.
Yes.
With those, trying to build up resilience within those teams itself. And then we at the end of the day, maybe we might come together as a group. In the beginning of the day, we might start as a group, then we might split up into smaller groups, and in between we might come together, congregate, and discuss, and then go back and then have a bit more discussion, practice, and then come back at the end of the day. That's how we see it working.
Yes.
Okay, because it's a very hands-on kind of process. There's no PowerPoint and all that stuff. We're not doing all that stuff. So it's very hands-on.
Yep.
Okay. So what we're trying to do is there's me and Shan here. There's one other person, Jenny. We're not sure yet whether because you're saying that the time period now we have is 4 weeks between now and the end of the month.
I know.
So we need to get up there. So that's why we're trying to think about the logistics. And that's why we're asking how many more support people we have. So what we're thinking is maybe we might be able to skill up you and your team to help us out as team leaders on that day.
Absolutely.
So we can access as many people as possible.
Yep, absolutely. I've got a few, embedded stakeholders and around this community that I think that I'd be able to get together, so they're people that I think have really strong emotional intelligence, to understand the concept that we're trying to achieve in a really simple way. So understand the technical part of that, and they're really able to translate that into a really simple framework as well. So they, if you put a proposal together and said, we would need this many people, I don't think that I have any trouble finding that many people, and
so you probably spend a few hours trying to pass on what we know to you guys, so that you guys can be prepared for that day. And then on that day, obviously, we'll all be having equal amounts of learning.
That's right.
But as a team leader, you just need to be able to kind of coordinate the learning between the members of the team. So we need to look at for what we're looking at for. How do we expand that, and how do we turn that into something positive, so it's more revitalizing than and empowering rather than anything else.
I think something too we need to be mindful of is having sharing that experience that we have within ourselves, because predominantly this training's led by people who are consumers. So I think So
it's all about us sharing. So the guys that you put together. So I mean, if it say we have say we have four. So there's me, Shan. There might be Jenny. There might be you. So if we have say 5 or 6 people who are willing to take on that
apprentice
team lead kind of role, then they could work with groups of, say, what do you think, Sharon? 6 people, 8 people?
Well, I guess it just depends on the amount that come on the day, but I think think of it from the orientation of a apprentice type.
Yeah. So I don't see any inherent problems with that at all. We have some really talented people that are in the wings, and we do lots of things all together, in different groups. So there's a lot of community building, and there's a lot of people who are really experienced in that area. But, and we all have I read your story, you guys, this morning again, and we all have experience that have, seemed to be really terrible at the time, but by geez, you wouldn't not have gone through it because of the strength that it gives you afterwards. I don't think there's anybody in that group, so they practice from a really holistic framework. They would be really well suited to be team leaders, and I would trust them. Okay, sounds good. So what you're thinking is that so maybe we could have, like you said in your proposal, you want to have one day training, and at the end of the day, you want to have some drinks and food and so on and so forth. So that's a proposal, yeah? So the emotional CPR, the mental health first aid course is a 2-day course.
Yeah, that's a 2-day,
yeah. And so what they were looking at was running that course for 2 days, and I suggested that we run that course on a Thursday and a Friday. So on the Friday night, we can have everybody come in from the properties out of town. Like they're 100 k's away, 150 k's away. They can spend the night with their families, but that's a really great way to bring that community together. And we would look at that as a separate process, but it's really closely connected, because we have a whole lot of people there that probably didn't attend the course, but there's a benefit in that.
Yeah.
I really think that there's a strong synergy to have, to empower a few people as team leaders, because I think it's a model that people need to look at really carefully and get their head around, because, like I said in that brief, this will work in any rural community that has an impact, from a disaster or drought.
I just had a thought, Peter, just then. So what if we were to do 2 days? On day 1, we get all the team leaders together, right? we work with the team leaders on day one, and on day two, we just work with a bit of a more wider audience, with the team, supporting the team leaders.
So would that one day be be enough for people to be empowered to step up and support their peers, their families, and their friends?
That one day will initiate the process. The way emotional CPR works is it's a community of practice. Okay, so it needs to be built on practice. So it's not professional development that we can offer to someone else, because it comes from so much of it that comes from within. People need to, on that one day, what we're hoping to do is at least allow people to feel the vulnerability that that they're experiencing, and be able to feel it in a safe space where they feel like it's not going to hurt them or harm them, and be able to turn that into a strength rather than a weakness. And then where they go with that will that's what we need to support by the by our team leaders, because the team leaders are going to be there. We'll be leaving, but the team leaders will continue to support them through that process. So the team leaders are getting the two-day training, while the people who attend the second day, they're being supported. So they can always come back to the team leaders to get some guidance, and obviously the team leaders will be supporting them on an ongoing basis. What do you think about that, Sharon?
Yeah, I'm just hearing the language around that, team leaders, and I hear what you're saying in terms of team leaders from the office. I'm just wondering, it's just language around apprenticing, like having apprentices, so that the community knows that it's a shepherding of ourselves that we bring to it, and the language that we use is that comes from the consumer movement. So I hear that there will be team members, and I think that's awesome. I think that the reflection needs to be that people understand that this is a practice, so we apprentice, we all go in as apprentices, so that we can have that purpose and understanding, and it's transferable, and it's transparent for people to say, well, it is an apprenticeship type of thing. It's something that you continue to do, and you continue to move, because it's a momentum. It's something that generates through practice. So I'd just say, Vinay, just mindful around language and roles.
Yeah, so I've come from a big organisation out to here, and we spent about $3 million. It was a huge amount of money on an innovation program, so a whole of business innovation program, and that program was to capture really great ideas for our business future. Capture ideas from every single person who was a stakeholder in the business, and part of that process was to build a community of practice that had people at different levels of decision-making responsibility, for the promotion of a great idea, to go through the innovation process as quite fundamental steps.
Yeah.
And we chose and engaged a really broad range of folks, and we called them change champions. So they weren't team leaders. Their role was to support people in their process of change, and to model and monitor how people's understanding was connecting, how that was flowing, and then that was their role. So we all had a different part in that thing. So Sharon, I understand what you're saying, and the language has to be really careful. I'm not advocating that any of those people are there in a formal business sense, because that's not their viewpoint at all.
Yeah.
And that's why I like them so much. So we've played lots of games, lots of community engagement games. We've done on the weekend. We've started to look really closely together at at some of those really embedded structures and asked ourselves those questions about why and how. I really trust them, and it's not the model that they would approach it with at all. So we do need to be really careful, and I just wonder myself whether there's more benefit in having a bit of a think about how to build that capacity for those for those facilitators and for those partners, then those apprentices, to do that work maybe in a different way. So one of the things that I think that we don't do very well out here is that we don't use assistive technology, and we don't engage and connect as broadly as we can. And I wonder if there's an opportunity then to think about, I came out here still working for that business as so I was mentoring a few different roles, and I would just jump on go-to meetings all the time. We'd have video conferencing. Those things are really easy to do. Centacare doesn't do them at all. They certainly don't do them well. But there's lots of resource here in Longreach that and up in Barkey that I think that we could tap into if we wanted to do that and do it separately. That's what we were thinking.
Yeah, we're hoping to do that. Yeah, that sounds great.
Because we have a go-to webinar account. Emotional CPR, and because we have, all of our trainers are based, all across the world. So
yes,
we have conference calls because that's how we collaborate. Because we've got trainers who are doing some wonderful work in their communities, and we want to share that knowledge and understanding and experience so we can be empowered by that and create momentum. So, and that's what we're thinking of doing. Maybe between now and the end of the month, before we come up, we have regular webinars where we can get the different people who are interested in becoming apprentices on the phone, and we can go through some go through and discuss some of the I guess what the emotional CPR approach looks like.
I think
I'm pretty sure that I'd be able to get a few people together and have us sit in on a session and have a bit of a look, And I really wish that I had been able to do this with you folks 3 months ago, so that we could build a really good model that would travel through and around, But we've got what we've got, and we should make the most of this little moment that we have, because who knows what that's going to build and deliver, and it's certainly worth looking at. So if you guys put a costing together for a couple of sessions with an apprentice group, who are going to help facilitate each of those tables to see their outcomes for themselves, and then factor in a 2-day course, and of course we'd love you guys to attend the dinner afterwards on the at the end of the session.
Yeah, we would too.
We won't put, won't march at the end of the plane and say, right, off you go. Thanks a lot, see ya.
Do we factor in travel too, Peter?
I think that if I was going to get someone out from Rocky, then I would factor that in. I had said to the organisation that if that cost was really inhibitive, that'll be a bit of a binder. Then the only other thing that I'd be able to do is go to the Western Queensland Drought Appeal and talk to them about the idea, and see if there was an ability to have something funded. But they usually give out limited there's limited scope for that. And if there was a bit more time, if there was more time frame, then I would say, let's really build this model really carefully and then build a grant submission for this to happen in more than one place so there's more bang for the buck. But I don't have the capacity to be able to do that. I've got 3 other big community events going on at the same time, all within this 4-week period. So let's see what we come up with. So I would factor in everything that you need to factor into, And,
so are you factoring in flights or driving there?
Oh no, don't drive here, mate. If you drive here, it's 17 hours non-stop.
Google lied to us.
Yeah, it's a beautiful drive, but mate, it's a long drive.
Okay.
I would fly. And from Brisbane, because from Brisbane, the flights do come directly here. They're just expensive right now because we're right in the tourist season. But, that's the way it is. I wouldn't drive out here.
Okay.
We'll...
So would we go to Rockhampton and then fly from there, or
no, mate.
Brisbane Longreach?
No, Brisbane Longreach.
Okay. All right.
Okay.
All right. Me and Shane will put our heads together, Peter, and we'll get back to you as soon as possible with some, with an outline.
All right. So I'm just going to keep you in the email loop as soon as I hear from the Barkey Council. Then I'll just keep. We'll just keep talking. Like I said in that email, Sharon. It's absolutely doable. But if for some reason this wasn't doable within the time frame, then what we would do is spend this 4 weeks talking really carefully about how that might look, and then looking at a grant submission to build that sustainability. Because the truth out here is that if we had excellent rain, really widespread rain today, it's a 4-year cycle for recovery out here. And all the properties are absolutely destocked. And that means that there's no money on the properties. That means there's no money in town. So all the businesses that are upstream or downstream from drought, from property money, none of them have any money either. So this is a really tight place and getting tighter and tighter. So people's levels of stress, and are quite high, and people are really conservative. So they don't like to talk about it all that much. But every single day you're reminded of it, every single day. And it just wears you down. So this is a really great idea.
I mean, we'd love to help. If we can make a difference on a community level, why not?
Yeah, that's right. Why not? And it's a model that I don't know has been done. We've targeted demographics, but we haven't just targeted a whole community. With an empowerment program to help them help themselves.
It's time to get back on line again.
Yeah. So this is a strong idea, and I think that it'll gather plenty of interest. I'm glad you like the brief. I'm glad that it has synergy with what you do.
there's nothing in there that doesn't
resonate.
Doesn't resonate with what we do. I mean, that's what ECP has been created for.
Yeah. Well, that's the approach that we've been taking, here in Centacare, out here. We've been free. We've got a sense of freedom to develop our own programs out here. So you can look at each of the programs that I've developed at a community level. They're all the same. They all say the same thing. The target group is different, but the stressors and the answers are very similar, and it lies within the person's ability to find their own resilience and their own sense of well-being, because we can't change anything else.
No, we can't.
That's why Sharon and I kept laughing yesterday. I kept going, it's getting better and better. My hair's standing on end.
Yeah.
All right, great. We'll talk to you soon, Peter. Good talking to you.
Yeah, you too, mate. All good.
Yeah,
Thanks for
wonderful.
making the time. We'll get back to you soon.
Yeah.
All right, mate.
Thanks
See ya.
very much.
See you, Sharon.
Bye,
Bye.
Peter.
See you, Peter.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye. You still there, Vinay?
Yes, sir. Yeah. All good?
I've been recording the conversation.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
So we send it off to Daniel.
The recording?
Yeah?
Yeah.
Or we put it, you know. Okay.